Welcome, Benzinga Nation. Today, we've got two great guests lined up for us here today. We've got Dr. Fabio Orozco and also Dr. Robert Jameson, both of them that are orthopedic surgeons and very well known in the space. Now, today we're going to speak on the great robotic surgical innovations that Monogram Orthopedics is working on. Ticker on the NASDAQ is MGRM. Doc, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you for having us.
You know, there's so many cool things to talk about here because typically in robotic surgeries, we see them kind of in movies, but y'all are applying these technologies just about every day, I would assume. So I'll start with you, Dr. Orozco. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice? Where did you get your fellowship? And, you know, how many knees do you operate on a year? That's a good one for me to ask.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you guys. So yes, I do hip and knee replacements is what my practice in orthopedics is. I only do hips and knees, and I do all my surgeries with robotics. I did my training in terms of residency and a fellowship in hip and knees at the Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, and I practice at the Shore area in South Jersey. I only do robotics, and I do about 1,000 hip and knee replacements a year.
Wow, that's quite a bit. Now, what robot do you currently use and why that specific one?
Well, currently I use Mako, which is a very good robot that I've been using for the last 10 years, and is the one that I use for every one of my hips and knees.
Now, what's so compelling about the Monogram offering? What is it about them that you feel like is going to have the best robot in the market?
I truly believe that when Monogram becomes a reality, we're going to go to a different level. And Mako is an excellent robot, but I do believe that when you bring Monogram to the table, it's going to make a significant difference in the way that we practice orthopedics. There is a multitude of new features that Monogram will bring, and the 3D printing of the implants is also something very attractive. So I cannot wait to see Monogram in the market.
You know, anytime we have something like this, especially in the medical field, you want to know what the advantage is. So how will Monogram's robot help you in your practice?
Well, the beautiful thing about Monogram is that being a new robot that has tremendous amount of precision and very easy to use, it will simplify robotic surgery significantly. At the same time, it will bring different level of other technologies that we can utilize in a seamless way with robotics, especially the 3D printing of the implants.
I appreciate the insights from your side. Dr. Jameson, you know, I know you're passionate about this topic as well, but before we dive in, tell me a little bit about yourself, your practice. Where did you do your fellowship? And of course, how many knees did you work on a year? And are you also a Mako user?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. So I have been involved in robotics for a long time. My practice was in Northern California, just outside of Sacramento, for the last 10 years. At that time, I was able to work with a guy named Bill Barger, and he's kind of one of the really pioneers in the orthopedic robotic realm. He helped develop a robot in the late 80s with IBM, actually, and while he was at UC Davis. And so I was able to really kind of get involved in robotics with him and just pick his brain and look, and really, I mean, his mind is amazing, and just how he thinks about robotics in the future. And so that was a great opportunity. Just about the last 6 weeks, I actually moved down to Southern Utah to St. George and joined Intermountain Health. And so now my practice is down there, and same thing. I focus on hips and knees, do about 650 of them a year. Not quite the 1,000, but we do a lot of them, and about half of those are knee replacements. I have had experience with Mako both on the hip and knee side, but a couple of years ago, Velis, which was Depue's robot, came out, and they only have their platform for knee replacements, but that's what I typically use for all my knees. And the same thing I think with Monogram is. Really what I feel is what Monogram's doing is taking what's good about all these robotic platforms, navigation, all these things, and putting them into one robot, which will allow us to take, you know, like Fabio just said, it's going to allow us to take it to the next level. And I think that's really where the excitement is on Monogram is, you know, we always talk about robotics, and it's kind of it's like if you had, you know, you're playing golf and you had a driver and you knew you could hit that ball to the exact, not only just hit it the same way, but actually hit that spot every single time. And then to add into, so, the robot's going to help us do that, but then also on top of that, be able to add the excitement and kind of the advancement of implants to be able to kind of just create the ultimate patient specific knee or hip for patients. And Monogram's going to help, is really kind of the leading the way in that.
Yeah, look, I went to med school in Grey's Anatomy. So if there's anything I know,
right.
It's that precision and accuracy matters that much. So, I assume you see kind of the same advantages that Dr. Orozco pointed out, and safe to assume that you'll use Monogram in your practice as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that those are, I've been able to work with Dr. Yunus for a long period of time, and him and I worked together on another robotic platform about 10 years ago. Well, yeah, 8 to 10 years ago. And so a lot of these things I've been able to really watch Monogram go from zero to where it's at today. And it's just super exciting, and definitely something that I'm interested in bringing into the practice once we get the approval and everything.
I do want to ask you, what does Monogram Orthopedics have in terms of competitive edge that you feel like others don't, right? What advantages can you get over the big boys, the big companies in this particular space?
Yeah, I always say that that big corporations is where technology goes to die. I think it's not just in this robotic realm, but with Monogram, it's so focused on robotics. And again, having Doug and some of these people that are kind of at the beginning of all of this, and the knowledge they've had in robotics, they're able to take the different, like I said earlier, the different benefits of all the different robotics and navigation and put it into one realm. When we go to the bigger companies, it just is harder because they have so many areas to focus on, that robotics, being able to really delve just specifically into robotics, I think Monogram's got that advantage of it just being, that's all they have to think about night and day. They eat, drink, and sleep robotics, which is awesome. And then add into 3D printing, and it just allows them to be a little bit further advanced than some of the other companies and the robots that are on the market right now.
The 3D printing side of things is very exciting for me personally. Let me ask you, what opportunities do you see for Monogram as they go from Gen 1 to Gen 2?
Yeah. I actually was just having this conversation with them as we were talking about, I look at the iPhone, right? If I were to give you an iPhone 1 now, you'd almost not even know how to, get into it. Is it the thumb? Is it whatever? And I think that a lot of the robotics are those Gen 1s. The advantage that I think that Monogram has coming into market is that it's already at kind of this iPhone 5, 10, where they're able to come into the market because they've seen all these other things. And so they're able to kind of come in as the newest technology that's on the market and put it into one robotic system.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of change, to the point where I stuck with my iPhone 8, even though there was a 12 out there, because I didn't want to get rid of my home button. I was stubborn, but the apps just said I had to. So then I upgraded, and, I would love it. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't go back, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Let's talk about the good old FDA. Why is the FDA submission and clearance going to be such a big deal for Monogram, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's everything. I mean, once that goes through, then it's going to allow us to do a lot more as far as clinical, if we need to do any kind of on the clinical side of things, and be able to advance it from that standpoint, and then start utilizing it in practice. So this is really the key, is getting it through the FDA and getting everything submitted and getting the approval from them. But you can't really do anything until that approval comes. And so it's an exciting time. It's obviously always the most difficult. One of the most difficult steps is to just make sure that all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and for that matter, making sure it's safe for patients. And so I think it's real, it's important, and it's just exciting.
All right, final question for you, and then Dr. Orozco will ask you the same thing as well. Monogram stock at the moment is currently trading in the mid $2 range. What do you think about this value compared to the other publicly traded robotic companies, based on your product experience, that is?
I think that, what we have on the market today isn't bad. I mean, both Dr. Orozco and I use it, and we have great outcomes with it. I don't think that it's that we're trying to get rid of something that it isn't working. I don't think that that's what Monogram is doing. I think what it really is really the vision of it is going to be able to take all of, like I said, everything that we have that works really well, combine it, and then take it to that next level. And that's what it's going to do. I think that, as far as the trading, it's definitely much more on your end. I get to put all this stuff in. You guys get to decide what that number gets to. But I think that there's just a lot of excitement with Monogram in the orthopedics realm because of what it can do as far as the robotic platform, but also what it's going to do on the 3D printing side of things, on the implant side of things. So super exciting. You guys get to be the ones that decide what that number goes to, I think. But from our standpoint, I'm pretty excited to use it and in the clinical realm and with patients.
Understood. Dr. Orozco, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that I agree with Rob. The number is something that is not my expertise. What I do see is that the future of Monogram is bright and is big. And once we're able to get this to a reality where we can truly use it in patients in a daily basis, that number is going to have to change. But most important than that number to me is just to have the ability to work with something that brings precision, that brings better patient care, that can improve outcomes, and that continue to get technology to another level, right? So as orthopedic surgeons, we think we're doing a very good job, and as doing hip and knee replacements, which are one of the most successful surgeries in the history of medicine, we think we're doing great. But when you start doing robotics and you start thinking about 0.5 millimeters and 0.5 degrees and be able to reproduce your plan exactly to reality in the patient, and you start seeing rapid recoveries and people that don't need 6 months to recover from surgery or don't need therapy or things like that, that's when you see that this is the excitement that got me into medicine and surgery, right? Is to be able to be better. And you are better when you use technology. And when you use technology like Monogram, you continue to be better and better.
I appreciate the insights, and I can clearly feel the passion that you both have. And now I've got two doctors to go to when maybe in 50 years I need to get some things changed with my hips and knees. I appreciate you both so much. Thank you for your time here today.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.